and welcome back to my channel. So I wanted to make another vaguely vintage episode, so I believe this is episode 3 at this point, that is not specifically a big sewing project, but that is how am I actually going to style and wear the vintagey clothes that I am making. So since I currently have mostly 50s stuff, I have made 2 circle skirts and some other things to go with it, I figured that that would be a good place to start, and then hopefully as I get a little bit further on, I will have some sort of Victorian Edwardian stuff that I can also style. So for a start, we're going to just focus on 50s. So as I have mentioned before, I am not at all concerned, I guess we can say, with being historically accurate. I am just sort of following the vague silhouette and have sort of a vintagey vibe. Now, this is for a couple of reasons. So one, I don't want to feel like I'm wearing a costume. I want to be able to wear all of the things that I make for work and in my daily life, and if it's a little bit too costumey, then I don't know if I would actually wear them as much. Now, that might change the more that I wear this style of clothing and the more comfortable I am with it, which I will say that is something that I think it might have been BERNADETTE who actually mentioned that in one of her videos about like getting started with sort of history bounding and that sort of thing, was to kind of work your way up to it and you eventually get more comfortable with it. And I can say that is absolutely 100% true. You know, when I first started sewing my own clothes, I did start sewing a lot of tops and like really simple things and thought like, oh, I'll just like kind of stick with this, like it's whatever. And then the more that I sew and the more that I wear this kind of stuff, you know, the longer my dresses have been getting and the more I am comfortable going out in like literally a crinoline, like I wore that to work. We'll chat about the crinoline in a second, but basically the more that I wear this kind of stuff, the more comfortable I feel in it, and it feels right when I wear it. So I think that part of this is, you know, if I were trying to wear clothes that just didn't feel me, that didn't suit like my aesthetic and my personality, then no matter how much I wore them, I wouldn't actually feel comfortable going out and wearing them in public. But because I have a pretty solid sense of what style and like what silhouettes I like and what I feel comfortable wearing, the more I wear sort of vintagey stuff, the easier it is. And to be honest, I don't really pay attention to other people's comments of me. And I will say that I live in a country that is very live and let live in that particular regard. I have worn a combination of things to work and like no comments. The only comments that I've ever gotten are from a couple of my students who are like, oh my gosh, miss, I really like what you're wearing, kind of thing. But like, even that is, you know, this entire school year, it's been maybe 3 times. You know what I mean? Like, they just don't really care what I'm wearing, and so I can wear what I want, and I feel great about that. So that is definitely one side of things that as I get more comfortable wearing more sort of history bounding and vaguely vintage kind of things, there is a chance that I will kind of veer more into trying to make more period accurate, I guess, pieces. But for right now, I don't really care to follow that. And I think part of that also has to do with just my particular aesthetic. I have certain silhouettes that I really like, but for example, I really like not necessarily doing as many of the ruffles, or I like specific styles of fabric and this, that, and the other that aren't necessarily going to be accurate to that time period. And so I just make what I actually want to wear. Anyway, so now that I have a couple of 50s kind of pieces, I thought I would go ahead and do a little bit of a lookbook. Now, if you are familiar with lookbooks here on YouTube, don't get too excited because 1, my filming skills, not that good, and 2, I live in a small apartment and I do not have a backdrop. So we were gonna do what we can do, but we're gonna give it a go. So I changed the camera angle so that we could get a little bit more of a full body shot. Editing Caitlin will have fun figuring out how to fit this in the video, but we're gonna do what we can do. So this is one of my kind of 50s era outfits. Now, as I mentioned before, I would talk about the crinoline a little bit. I am not actually wearing the crinoline, and that is because I need to alter it a little bit. Basically, the first time that I wore it to work, I wore it for about 4 or 5 hours, and it stayed up at my waist. Like, the tie works fine and all of that, but over time it actually stretched out a bit. So for the most part, it sticks out a tiny little bit, but there's actually a section, I think it's on this, I have to put it on again before I alter it, but I think it's on either this back left side or back right side, which actually back left side, back right side. Anyway, there's a little bit that sticks out like 2 or 3 inches that I basically just need to kind of bring up. And I just haven't done that yet because I haven't. So I'm not actually currently wearing it because this was just a filming day and I didn't want to get the whole 9 set up. But I do have the crinoline. I have worn it only once until I alter it again, but that is on my list of projects to alter. So as you guys can see, this is my raw silk circle skirt. So this is actually the second one that I made, and I made a couple of alterations to it. So I actually made the waistband only about an inch and a half. The original pattern is, I think, 2 inches. And even with taking in the waistband, I did end up having to dart it in about an inch because it was just too big. And I like a nice tight skirt, especially since in the winter I'm always wearing tights, and that just kind of keeps things in tight. So I don't want the skirt to slide down because then it messes around with, you know, I see the top of my tights, or my shirt starts to untuck, or what have you. I also have, oops, let me just go like this. So this is my BELLBIRD button-up, which I will show you the full shirt in a second. So this is actually a cropped top. Well, cropped-ish. It actually only tucks into about here, which is great because I don't have a lot of fabric down around my hips, but it is long enough that I can tuck it into a pair of tights and the skirt, and it stays put. This on top, I'm actually wearing my latest creation. This is actually an upcycle project, and this is my first big upcycle project. I did mention that I was upcycling a dress into a top and a skirt, which I have done, and I love them both, but that was actually me-made things that I then just split from a dress into separates. Whereas this was actually an oversized men's sweatshirt. So I actually got this sweatshirt from H&M, I think it was probably 3 or 4 years ago at this point. And it was a crew neck with really, and like when I mean long sleeves, like they would naturally hit about here, really long sleeves, and I think it hit to like at least about here. So what I ended up doing is I cut off, I put it on, and I kind of did pins where I wanted the shoulders to be and all of that. And I cut the crop off, and I cut it a little bit shorter because then I cut off the bottom band. So this is actually the bottom band of the original sweater. And I went ahead and I just serged it on there, and because it's long enough, it just sort of lays nice. So that way I had a nice kind of tighter band. As you can see, it does blouse in the back of it. I mean, it was an oversized sweater, so I knew it wasn't gonna be, like this sweater vest was never gonna end up being a super tight one, but it does have kind of an in shape, so it looks nice over top of skirts. And then I went ahead and I cut off the sleeves and I bound them with some jersey, and then I cut a V-neck. This is my first ever V-neck, so it's a little messy, but I think it came out pretty well. And I bound it with a viscose, so hopefully it won't stretch out too much. And as you can see, it's a pretty wide V-neck. My shoulders are not ultimately the same width, and this side versus this side, they're not exactly identical, but I will say that for my first major upcycle project, I'm actually pretty happy with this. So now I have a cropped sweater vest that I can wear with my circle skirts or any other high-waisted stuff that I have. So this is kind of one particular styling. So this is the BELLBIRD button-up as is, and this has actually been the combination that I've been wearing the most because this shirt is just so comfortable. But what I do also have is I have some vests. So this is one of my kind of self-drafted vests. It's basically a mashup of the PEGGY Pinafore bodice and a DEMETER tank top ish. So I have 3 of these vests. I have my original, which was done from the blanket that I upcycled into a, well, it was not even an upcycle, I just used the blanket as fabric. So I have the blanket suit, so I have the all-well cardigan coat, the pants, all-well studio pants, and then the vest. So that was kind of my tester one. This is actually my 3rd vest. So what I did is I wanted to have a cropped vest, and these are like fairly fitted, but not like, you know, not skin tight or anything like that, but you can definitely tell it is designed to go over something that is a high waist. So this is one of my other combinations that I really like, and one of the reasons why I do want to do some neckwear, because I love nothing more than a nice button up. And actually I almost never button this top collar, this top button. There's nothing I like more than having a nice button up shirt, and I think I want to do kind of a short tie, so something that'll hit like here-ish so that I can tuck it into a vest when I'm wearing it, and then maybe a bow tie as well, so I can do that. So this one is one of my favorites. Honestly, I think I like this skirt more just because the gray goes with so many things, and you can even tell like this is fully a handmade one. my bottom edge here is not super even. But what is nice is that it does more or less hit right at the bottom of the waistband, so it works out pretty well. So this is another favorite combo. So this is my first circle skirt, and as you can see, the waistband is a lot wider. I also didn't take in the waist as much, so I actually still need to kind of take the waist in again. I've actually already darted it twice, but I need to take it in again. Unfortunately, I just haven't gotten around to that. The other thing with this skirt, I made a lot of changes to the other skirt. So these pockets are super shallow, so I made deeper pockets in the other version. I shortened the waistband, but I do still really like this skirt, and it's a really nice weight for kind of fall and winter. I haven't tried wearing it now that it's a little bit warmer out, but we'll see. And then this is my Wilder top in the Nanny Iro double gauze, which I wear also quite frequently. So a lot of times I'll wear this to work just like this, or I also have a matching vest because, like, why not make a matching corduroy vest, you know? So this one, with these, because my color palette is kind of this sort of sage, gray, black, like dark teal sort of situation, I can actually alternate all of my tops. So for example, I've worn the BELLBIRD button-up top with this vest and skirt. So as you can see here, I've got a nice little matching, and again, not entirely even, but that's what happens when you make it yourself. So I have my little vest combination with this one, which we love. I'm getting my skirt caught on my chair because it's really big. So this one I can have kind of a head to toe look. And if I wear the BELLBIRD button up, I want to have a bow tie or a tie that will actually match this color as well as the gray, so that I can wear them both sort of interchanged. And I actually haven't tried this because I just finished my sweater vest yesterday. See how it looks with a little sweater vest action. Pull the ties out because I like that. Ooh, that is kind of cute. I think I'm actually gonna like this probably slightly more with the gray skirt. Why don't we try that? We're going to try it with the gray skirt. I feel like I need a darker top, like a dark solid to go under this, because the knit is like a variegated sort of navy, I think it's navy or gray and white. And so I feel like I just need a darker color under here so it doesn't like get washed out. But let's go ahead and try it with my other skirt. So as you can see, having this sort of a minty color with the gray looks really nice. And I actually like this over top of the gray skirt a little better. It just kind of like tones things down. So there is that. So in terms of outfit combinations, as I mentioned, all of the skirts and tops that I currently have work together in some way, shape, or form. I might not always wear all the pieces together, but for example, normally I wear the corduroy vest with the corduroy skirt, and I wear the black vest with this skirt because I don't really have enough of this raw silk left to, I don't think, to do a matching vest, and I don't really want that many matching vest and skirt combinations. Like, one is good. So what we're gonna try this time, and I've actually never done this combination before, is corduroy vest with raw silk skirt and the Nanny Iro top. So there, and sometimes I leave my little ties in there, but a lot of times I just kind of pull them out and I have it go over the top because it's a little more extra that way. So actually, I don't hate that. That's some fun textures. As you see, I have a lot of mix and match possibilities. I also have a short sleeve Wilder that I can wear with this particular skirt. I can also wear it with my other skirt. I could wear this vest over top of it. So I was going to be lazy and not actually style this particular outfit in this video, but I decided to go ahead and do it. So I do have my gray raw silk skirt, as you saw before, but I have added in my crinoline, and honestly, I was going to try and fix it. As you can see down here, it kind of sticks out at the bottom, actually kind of on both sides. Oh no, wait, hold on. Yeah, that's actually sticking out a lot on the bottom. So I do kind of need to fix it and sort of raise it, but I ended up wearing this outfit today for work because we have Carnival, and so a lot of my kids were like, oh, Miss, are you gonna dress up? And I was like, well, I guess I could go 50s. So this outfit, I have a sleeveless turtleneck on underneath just because of the outerwear I wanted to wear. It wasn't going to like cover a lot, so I wanted to make sure that I had some like an extra layer and not just this really thin cotton top. So this is my BELLBIRD button up, and this is just a square scarf that I've had for years and years and years that I just did kind of a little knot at my neck because I don't currently have the neckwear yet. We need to make that. So this is honestly one of my favorite ways to wear this, and I really want to get another petticoat, and I don't know if I'm going to make it or if I'm going to actually just cave and purchase it, but I would love to get one that is just a little bit like fuller. I like this one a lot, and I think it was a really good learning experience, but I do want one that is a little bit fuller and also that actually hits at the right spot. The other thing is the waist of my crinoline is a drawstring, as you saw in the video when I actually worked on the crinoline, and it's sometimes hard to get it actually tight enough so that it doesn't like slip down a little bit, because my crinoline is so long that I really need it to sit like here and not here, because otherwise it's gonna be just way too long. Anyway, so long-winded, this is one of my looks, and one of the things that I paired it with, and this is actually a recent addition to my wardrobe, as in I finished it last night, is this Charm Scout capelet. So this is a pattern from Gertie. So if you're familiar with charm patterns, Gertie has a Patreon, and she releases a Patreon exclusive pattern every single month. And I finally caved and joined when she released this Charm Scout capelet, because it is just the absolute cutest thing ever. So I made this and finished it last night. Well, I didn't make it last night. I've made it over the past 3 days. But I finished it last night just in time to wear it with this outfit. And I am honestly in love with this. Although I do call this my manta ray, because somehow with the gray and the purple, it just reminds me of a manta ray. So yeah, it was super, super nice to put together. It actually worked out really, really well. And it's just like adorable. I just really, really love this. So this is my sort of going out look in a 50s style, which I mean, I would just honestly wear it normally, but today I wore it as a costume for Carnival. So yeah, I just wanted to make sure that I also styled this since I have this new addition to my kind of vintagey pieces. I wanted to make sure I styled it with a circle skirt, because I absolutely will be wearing this with this skirt. I really like it. Like, look how swooshy it is. Also, it was super windy today, and that was not a great choice because I had to hold down the capelet and my skirt from blowing up, and that was fun. So as I mentioned, I have kind of a similar color palette with all of the stuff that I've made so far that's in sort of the 50s realm. And what's really great is a lot of the fabrics that I have in my stash actually all work well in some combination. Now, obviously there are going to be certain fabrics that I don't necessarily want to wear together, but for example, having two different circle skirts, having a gray one and a green one, I can actually wear one or the other of the skirts with basically all of the fabrics that I have that I want to ultimately make into tops, or you know, things that I ultimately want to make into other skirts. I already have ideas for tops that I currently own that are going to go with it and all of that. So that has definitely been one of the things when I am planning out my vintagey kind of things, is to make sure that I'm making pieces that go together. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not picking, oh, I really want to make this top in this fabric, and then after I realize that I can't match it with any of the circle skirts that I have, for example. That would make no sense. So that is kind of thing number one, is making sure the stuff goes together. Thing two is I have pulled out all of the more vintagey style tops that I have. However, I have a lot of other tops in my wardrobe that I absolutely can wear with these skirts that are just going to look more modern. So for example, a lot of times in the winter, I will wear a turtleneck either just by itself. I'll wear a turtleneck with one of these vests over top, or I'll wear a turtleneck with one of these tops over top. And depending on the combination that I do, it goes from more modern to more vintage. So a turtleneck by itself is a lot more kind of modern, just because that sort of like turtleneck and pants, sure, that would give you kind of, I think, Audrey Hepburn. Whereas a turtleneck with a circle skirt is a bit bit more of a modern look, I think. And, you know, going kind of to the other end of the spectrum, if I were to take the a turtleneck with a bellbird button-up or a turtleneck with this top, for example, I get this sort of more vintagey look over top, and I get that added layer where I'm warm, but it is kind of a more like vintage, like a more modern vintage as opposed to a more like vintagey side of things. So, you know, I do have other things in my wardrobe that I do wear with these skirts. It's not that I have, what do I have? 3 tops right now? I have 3 tops and 2 vests and a sweater vest. That's not to say that those are the only things that I ever wear with these tops. It's just that of my wardrobe, these are the pieces that are more of a vintage vibe. Whereas, you know, I have a ton of box tops, for example. And that's not to say that I never wear this skirt with a box top. It's just that when I wear a box top, it's a much more modern vibe to it because of the style of top that it is. But I actually really do like the look of a box top, like tucked into one of these skirts. So that is kind of the lookbook portion of this. So, future Caitlin here. You might have noticed at the very end of the last clip that it sounded like I was gearing up to have another part to the video, and I originally was. I was actually planning on doing a little sewing section where I worked on some neckwear, but honestly, I have been in a massive sewing slump lately, and I've also got a bunch of stuff going on for work right now, and so in order to not completely flake on you all and to actually have a video for this week, I'm just going to cut the sewing part and just post this as a 50s styling video. So you might have noticed from the clips that my outfit changes were actually marking very different days. I have been working on this video for honestly over a month, and it has just been one of those that has sat in my raw footage file, and so I decided it was time to just finish it and get it up there because I needed some content for you all this week. And so that is all I have for you today. If you have any comments or questions about some of the styling things that I talked about, let me know if you'd like to see some other styling content. I know that, I mean, obviously I'm not like a fashion person, but I know what I like. I know what I like that looks together, and so I definitely have some pretty solid ideas on how I like to style my clothing. So if you're interested in seeing a little bit more about that or how I choose fabrics, since I do make my own clothes, I have a lot of freedom over what I actually choose to put together. I would be more than happy to make some more content like this. So that is all I have for today, and I will see you in my next video. Bye.